paranoid and paranormal. Baby.
Exactly.
I am so excited for this episode. First of all, welcome back. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy. This
And
is
this
my
is
voice.
Girls Gone Spooky.
This is Girls Gone Spooky.
Yay.
Yeah, when I just said hello like that, it reminded me of Colin Robinson from What We Do in This.
Oh my God.
Hello.
Hello. He's so odd. I love him so much. That
There are
show.
new
It's back.
episodes.
Yes. Just
I've
like
watched
yesterday or
them.
the day before. You watched them all?
Last week they came on. There were two, and then there was one 2 days ago or something.
Oh my God. Okay, I need to get caught up. I'm still not caught up on the last season. I'm almost there, but I'm like,
you must.
But I kind of want to space it out because it's just so good. I'm like, please, I don't want to run out.
I know.
But quick call out from last week. I know there were some audio issues, so if you hung in there through the episode with my terrible audio, thank you. I am back on my mic. I was having issues with my computer. I got a new computer. Anyway, we're good to go. I should sound like this moving forward. Yes. So, thanks for bearing with us. Okay, so episode 42, we are episode 42, but season 2, episode 2. 222 angel numbers, baby.
Yes.
We're doing haunted campsites.
Ooh. Spooky.
In sync.
Ooh. Have I ever told you that I was in 6th grade? It's so problematic, the gifted and talented program.
Oh, we had that too. Gate.
Yeah, I was in that, and we did a production of Hamlet when I was in 6th grade.
What?
And I was the ghost of Hamlet's father. Was my role.
What?
So, one of the only parts I had was to go, ooh, in the background.
That is really funny.
Yeah.
That is really funny.
That was my acting debut.
Wow. Incredible. I love to hear it.
Can you picture that?
No, I'm really trying. Are there photos? I would like to see that.
There probably are. I would have to dig deep, but there must be. Because my parents came, so.
That? Amazing. Okay, I'm putting a note about that. Oh God. We literally, that's kind of cool that your program did a play. I mean, that's really whack and inappropriate to do Hamlet, but also we just did math. All we did was math. And
really?
they took me out of class during English, which was my favorite subject. So I missed silence and reading. I missed everything I liked. And they were like, more math. I was like, please no. So annoying.
That is
so annoying. So, anywho, with that, I think I go first this week.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to start with a personal story that literally had been buried in my memory. It wasn't until I started reading some of these and I was like, wait a minute. I have a story. What am I doing?
Yeah. Oh, exciting.
So I probably have told you this, but I was a camp counselor for outdoor ed or outdoor education. Did you guys have that?
No, not really.
It was you guys are in outdoor education
in
Colorado, so understandably. But no, so California too, to be fair. But it was an overnight. It was a week. So you'd go for I think it was 5 or 6 nights or something that.
We did have that. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
We called it Eco Week.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So we called it outdoor ed, and it was a program where kids from all different schools would come, and you'd go with all your classmates, but then there'd be other schools too. So I did it as a kid. I loved it, and then I did it as a counselor later, and I just kind of had a mini stroke for a minute there because I was trying to think. I wrote down in my notes that it was Jones Gulch, but Jones Gulch was where I went in 5th grade, and now I'm trying to remember where this was when I was a counselor. Westminster Woods. That's what it, wow,
Ooh,
that just like, I don't know why,
alliteration.
like, yeah, and also, like, why is this story just, like, all of a sudden coming back to
Coming
me?
back. Wow.
Yeah, it's so weird. So, I mean, it really scared me. So, like,
Hmm.
that's probably why. But it was fun. Like, you, like, go and kiss a banana slug, and, like, you do all this
Yeah.
fun crap. And so I, like, loved it. And so when I was in high school, me and my two, like, good girlfriends, Hannah and Steph, were counselors. And so we were counselors with girls from other high schools, or people from other high schools in the area. So there were, like, like, other, not women at the time, girls, and then I think, like, two guys from Carlmont High School. So anyway, that's sort of relevant. The only reason why that's relevant is because there were way more girl counselors than guy counselors. So, and there were an equal number of boy and girl cabins. So I actually
Right.
happened to get a boys cabin. So I had a boys cabin,
Oh,
but of course I couldn't sleep in there with the boys because, like, weird.
inappropriate.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I slept in a girls' cabin that very inconveniently was, like, all the way across the campsite, but the
Oh.
campsite was relatively small. Like, it would probably take you, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to walk across, like, the sleeping area of the campsite is
Hmm.
what I.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Thanks is, like, back in. Can we cease and desist, sir? Trying to make his appearance. So I had a boys' cabin, and I like, basically I would, like, say goodnight to the guys, like, make sure everyone was, like, tucked in, lights were off, they didn't need anything, whatever. And then they knew where I was staying. So I always said, like, if you need anything, just, like, call me, I'll hear you, or come to this cabin, knock on the door, whatever. And we ended up keeping, like, the cabin doors open most of the time because it was summertime. So
Hmm.
there was one night, and this was, like, towards the end, and, like, you're out in the woods, and it's kind of like, it's already inherently a little bit spooky because it's like
Yeah.
sound doesn't travel through the trees well, and, like,
Hmm.
you feel very isolated, and, like, there weren't a lot of, like, adults around. Like, it was literally like
Yeah.
we were the adults, and we were, like,
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
So one night towards the end, so I was staying in the girls' cabin with this other counselor, Natalie, who was, like, it was her cabin. So we, whatever, like, I said goodnight to the boys. And so the boys' cabin, sorry, I feel like I'm, like, telling this in a not very efficient way, but
I'm following.
cabins, okay, good. The boys' cabins were right next to each other, and I had one and my friend Hannah had the other. So it was, like, the two of us, and we were both, like, in the girls' cabins next to each other, but across the way.
Hmm.
So we say goodnight to the boys, and we would do it together, right? So we're not, like, walking in the dark alone, which you
Yeah.
could have. Like, obviously it's safe.
Hmm.
But so, well, so we thought.
Ominous.
We put the guys to bed, and so Natalie and I are in her cabin now, and with the girls, and we all of us kind of, like, are startled in the middle of the night by, I guess, a noise outside. And I don't know exactly what woke us, but there was some noise outside, and it was like twig snapping and stuff like that. We started hearing, like, rustling and, like, noises like that
Hmm.
outside. And at first we were like, okay, it's an animal, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I got up and closed the door, and then, just to make sure we didn't get, like, a raccoon in there or something. And
Hmm.
then a little while later, like 10 minutes later, so, like, I was woken again. I don't know if the girls all woke up, and Natalie did too. And we're both kind of like, should we, like, go outside and, like, check on that? Like, what is that? Because then we were kind of
Right.
like, it's maybe one of the kids got out of bed and is, like,
Hmm.
lost on the way back from the bathroom, or, like, they're trying to be spooky or whatever. So I,
Hmm.
like, go outside, walk all the way around to the cabin with Natalie, so I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, nothing. So we're, like, looking around, like, there's nobody out wandering. So we're like, okay, it's just probably, like, a squirrel or something.
Hmm.
So we go back to bed, and all of a sudden I hear, like, banging, not on our cabin, far away, what sounded like relatively
Oh,
far away. And I was like, what the fuck? And so
creepy.
I was like, I'm going to go check on the boys. And she was like, yeah, okay, I'll stay here. And I was like, okay. So I, like, run across, which takes me maybe 10 seconds.
Hmm.
And I can hear the banging, and I can see Hannah is also coming because she can hear it too.
Hmm.
And we see the lights go on inside of the boys' cabins, and we're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, banging on the door or the wall or whatever at this time of night? It's like 2 a.m. at this point.
Hmm.
So we get there and we can hear the banging as we're approaching, and it sounds like there's someone banging from the inside.
Ooh.
And yeah, and as we get like, I don't know, maybe 10 feet away, it just stops. And we were like, what the fuck? And it's like, we know the boys are fucking with us. We're like, okay, like they saw us coming and they're like, oh, shh, like they're coming.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I thought it was really weird though that the lights had turned on. I was like, why would they make it obvious that it's them? Like, oh, I have eyes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so I knock on the door and I open the door and I'm like, you guys, what the hell? And they're all sitting there like looking terrified. And like when I had knocked on the door and like opened it, they were all like, like they were all
startled. Yeah.
And I was like, what was that? And they were like, did you hear that banging noise? And I was like, yeah, obviously. That's why I'm here. What the fuck are you guys doing? And they were like, that wasn't us. No, that wasn't us. We thought someone was outside. And I was like, no one was outside. I literally was coming up as the banging was happening. I know it was you guys. And they were like insistent that it was not them. Same thing with Hannah's cabin. And the cabins didn't connect. So it's not like they were like, hey, bang on the door at the same time. You know, it was like just a really weird thing. And it was like, okay, maybe it was like a weird wind tunnel or something like that. But we were all freaked the fuck out. So
yeah, I would be too.
So yeah,
Yikes.
It was really creepy. And Hannah and I were like, okay. So we like made sure everyone was okay. Like a couple kids were like, can you wait for us to go to the bathroom? So like we like took a group to the bathroom, like made sure it was like buddy system. No one go anywhere alone if you're feeling freaked out. Like it's weird that happened, but like it's no big deal. It's probably something totally explainable, but it was really freaky. Like, and and Hannah and I were walking away looking at each other like, I know we're like trying not to make a big deal out of this, but like that was fucking creepy.
Scary. Yeah.
So there was that.
Weird.
So that was my weird little story. And then I remember my brother told me a story that was from a friend of his who I knew, and I'm totally spacing. I think it's this guy Max. But anyway, it's a friend of his. He's this like big burly like football player in high school, like star athlete, not a like spiritual guy, like not, you know, I wouldn't say like the sharpest tool in the shed, but like not a scaredy cat for sure.
Yeah.
So he was a counselor at a camp as well. And I think my brother told me this story when I told him what had happened. And he was like, I don't know, man, like there's creepy shit sometimes. And it was where they stayed, I guess, was on a lake. I think it was maybe like Clear Lake, like somewhere sort of like Northern California, like kind of near Tahoe. And so anyway, they're staying by this lake. And one day during the day, he sees that there's a swing set, like the lake's on one side, there's the trail, and then there's a swing set on the other side. And like the trail goes from the campsite out to like where there are like hiking trails and stuff like that, like activity areas for like camp, like kids camps like that. And so he was walking by himself, like either to or from, but it was in the middle of the day. And he saw that the swing set was swinging, and he thought like, okay, a kid just jumped off when he saw me coming because he's not supposed to be over here. He's supposed to be either in his cabin or out doing the activity. So he kind of stops and looks around, and he's like turning all the way around to see if he can like see anyone. And he doesn't see anyone, but when he turns back, the swing is stopped. And he's like, that's weird. Like it just stopped so abruptly. So then he's like, whatever, like it was just trick of the light, whatever. So he's then walking back. This is like 20 minutes later, and he sees the swing start to swing on its own.
Creepy.
And then he sees like on either the forward or the back stroke of the swing, like someone's sitting there. But like he can only see it at a certain point in the trajectory, if that makes sense. Wow. Yeah, almost like there's like a hologram or something. Like really fun. And he was creeped the fuck out. And so he was like, okay, that's clearly not one of our kids. So it was like, I'm fucking out of here. So he goes back to the rest of the group. And I guess later on, like when the counselors were eating dinner together, he like was like, I kind of feel like I'm insane, but I feel like I saw like a little girl like swinging on that fucking swing set, except I saw her, but she like wasn't fully there. And one of the counselors was like, okay, not to freak you out, but there was a girl who drowned here like 10 years ago or something in the lake. I don't know if it was at the camp, but it was like she drowned. So he just was like, he never went that route by himself again. He was like, I'm good.
I don't blame him. Wow,
Yeah.
that is creepy.
Yeah.
Oof.
So now we get into other people's stories. So this is one that I pulled from the author of this article that was around like just haunted campsites and parks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And this was like their personal story from camp. So they used to do summer camp in Malibu, California. And they did it for 8 years in a row. And every year on the first night, they would tell them the story of Chapel Man. And Chapel Man
Ew.
ate children.
Oh, uh-huh.
And she's like, yeah, a little spooky for summer camp, but this is what they told us. So the camp director told them that he was the first person to see Chapel Man, and he heard the man yell, "Bring me children." And
Ew.
Chapel Man allegedly lived in an old part of the camp that you had to walk past every night to get to your cabin. And so every night you'd see kids who believed, who believed in the story would like run by very quickly
Yeah.
to try to avoid, being eaten by Chapel Man. But this girl was like, I was like very no nonsense. She's like, I watched Exorcist when I was like 8, like not a problem. But she's like, that being said, whenever someone asked me to get close to where that area was, where supposedly Chapel Man lived, I would make up an excuse and walk another way. Cause it was really creepy. And it's like the energy of it. We've talked about this so much, like Slender Man and some of these like online legends that it's like, are we speaking them into existence?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right. Could
I don't really want
be.
to fuck with
No. Rather not.
that.
Ooh,
Rather not.
Chapel Man. That's creepy.
Chapel Man. Yeah. So this next one, okay, so the next one is called Malakoff Diggins State National Park. It's in California. A lot of these are in California because I was really staying focused on the Western US. So it's basically like there are a lot of historic buildings throughout this like park and campground. And a lot of campers have seen and also photographed ghosts in this town that's called North Bloomfield. And there's actually a photo of a ghost, allegedly, in a window in this article in a place called Skidmore House, which is one of the historic buildings on the property. So there's like an old schoolhouse, which was built in 1872, which is located right next to the century-old town cemetery, which like classic.
Oh, yeah.
Locals say that the schoolhouse is probably the most haunted place in Malakoff Diggins because apparently a schoolmaster killed a child in front of the class and hung the body in the upstairs rafters.
Ew. What?
And so they say that if you get a chance to go into the schoolhouse, like record it and like walk to the ladder leading to the rafters because like it is like EVP central. Apparently.
Whoa. Ew. What a horrible thing to do.
I know.
That is.
I know. To kill a child. Like, what the fuck?
In front of other
class?
children. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, just pure
Yikes.
evil. It's so fucked. So, that's Malakoff Diggins. The next one is Silver Strand State Beach, Coronado Island, San Diego, California. So it's about 2 miles south of Coronado. The campground is right on top of the sand, and it's like kind of the parking lot style camping for RVs and trailers and stuff like that. So a few miles north of the campground is a famous hotel called Hotel del Coronado, and there are ghosts that allegedly roam from the hotel down to these campgrounds and like from the shoreline because it's all along the coast. So the ghost is thought to be that of Kate Morgan, who checked into the hotel in 1892 and never checked out. So the story goes that she was distraught that her lover never showed up at the Hotel del Coronado to meet her. And after waiting for 5 days, which like, girl, get a job. She killed herself with a handgun that she had purchased in San Diego. So most of her ghostly activities have been experienced in and around her third floor room where she actually died. But she's also been spotted in the hallways of the hotel and, of course, along the seashore down to the campground. a little bit closer to the camp, just off of Imperial Beach, at low tide, you can actually see the conning tower. It's part of a boat, a submarine, I mean. I don't know if that's right, conning or coning tower, and the sunken remains of the USS S-37 submarine, which saw a ton of action during World War II and sunk the Japanese destroyer Natsushio, among other vessels. Some say that the Japanese sailors killed by the S-37 still haunt the submarine. So there have been accounts of, during low tide, seeing strange luminescent shapes in the waves as they wash over the wreckage, especially during the night. And again, always at low tide. Shapes that look like, and there's shapes that look like bodies trying to get in or out of the submarine. So
weird.
Would not recommend for a night swim. Yeah, very. Yeah, don't love that. Okay, the next one is Cameron Park, Texas. So this is home to Jacob's Ladder. So I'm going to get to that in a second, but I wanted to touch very briefly on what exactly is Jacob's Ladder. So it's referenced in Judaism and Christianity and Islam, but it's basically like a symbol of God representing, it's different things, but like it's thought to be, it's known as like the straight path in Islam. It has different meanings, but basically it's a ladder leading to heaven that was featured in a dream that Jacob in the Christian Bible had during his flight from his, actually, no, it would have been it's both the Old Testament and the Torah. So he had this dream during his flight from his brother Esau in the book of Genesis, chapter 28. So the significance of the dream has been debated, but most interpretations agree that it identified Jacob with the obligations and inheritance of the people chosen by God, as understood in Abrahamic religions. So I just wanted to give a little context as to like what exactly that, like what is Jacob's Ladder, because it's a very not godly experience, the actual thing. So this is in Cameron Park, Texas, and there is this literally a steep staircase, like 80 something steps to nowhere, that hikers climb, and where women have reportedly, like hundreds and hundreds of women have reported feeling hands pull their clothes when they get to the top.
Weird.
Yeah. So I'll come back to the ladder thing in a minute, but not far from the ladder in Cameron Park is also Lover's Leap, where two lovers from opposing indigenous tribes jump to their deaths. So people have seen the couple walking through the river holding hands, which is like actually
sweet,
tragic and sweet.
Yeah.
There are also stories of witches in black and white dresses running through the park, and many have reported hearing high-pitched screams and smelling like rotting meat out of nowhere.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like there's something like weirdly kind of evil. The Lover's Leap thing feels like sweet but tragic. The rest of it feels a little like demonic, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ladder thing triggered something in my mind that I read from a while back, and I couldn't find the original article, but these like staircases in the forest, like in the middle of nowhere, are not uncommon.
Oh.
It was a podcast that I had originally listened to, and it was like, it was a spooky podcast for sure, but it wasn't made up. And they talked to actual park rangers who literally like pretend like they don't exist. Like they're like, they don't know where they came from. They ignore it. There are a bunch of disappearances around them, and like weird shit happens, like Bermuda Triangle kind of shit happens around them. Like really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And they've done like not shows, but I know there's a movie called Jacob's Ladder, but there are like twists on Jacob's Ladder that are kind of on like the evil side. But to me, it almost feels like it's like luring you with the idea of like God is on the other side when it is not God on the other side. So it's thought to be like a portal to another realm or whatever. And then you get like stuck there. And like there was one person in this podcast who talked about it, a ranger who was a new ranger, and they lost a bunch of time Like they went up the
Oh.
steps,
Mm-hmm.
didn't go anywhere. They didn't
Right.
think. Went up the steps all the way to the top, stood up there, pretty view, cool, turned around, don't know what the big deal is about, walks down, and had lost like 5 hours.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah, which makes me also think
I
like maybe you had a seizure, but that just seems kind of like weird coincidental timing if
Yeah,
that's the case. So
definitely.
super fucking weird, the ladder thing, and it
Weird.
just like makes you
Who
think about ladders in a different way, or not ladders, but
Yeah.
staircases in a different way. You're
Yeah.
just like,
Uh-huh.
oh, creepy.
Yeah. Who's building them? Did they say like they just are there suddenly?
They're just there. And literally
Oh, weird.
like national park rangers will be like, don't go near it. Just
Yeah.
don't. Like
Hmm.
SOS.
Yeah,
And
creepy.
if the park rangers don't want to touch it,
Yeah.
that's a little sus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I have two more. Yeah.
Okay.
So this next one is Holy Ghost Campground in New Mexico.
Mhm.
It is in the northern Sangre de Cristo Mountains within Santa Fe National Forest. It's a very isolated but super scenic, like very beautiful place to camp.
Mhm.
There are rumors about a lot of shit that's happened there. One of the main ones is that a 17th century Spanish priest was murdered there and has haunted the area ever since. There's a local tour guide who also does ghost tours named Alan
Mhm.
Pacheco, who says that the surrounding Pecos wilderness is home to all kinds of bizarre activities. It's not just the priest. He's quoted saying there are a number of people who have gone missing in that vicinity. It's like, and then he says, it's like the Bermuda Triangle of New Mexico.
Oh.
People disappear into thin air. No clothing or bones are ever found.
Hmm.
It's also a spot where people have reported seeing UFOs, seeing strange shadows, hearing voices that aren't part of their party. All kinds of speculation, but he's quoted saying maybe there's a cosmic doorway that opens up there, like a Star Trek type dimensional wormhole, different beings, different energies, who knows, but something weird's going on. So
Wow.
a spokesperson from Santa Fe National Park, they reached out and were like, do you have a comment on this? And they're quoted saying, quote, Holy Ghost Campground cannot be haunted for one simple yet big and important reason. Ghosts are not real. End quote. But then there was an update. They added like a little addendum to the article, like in italics. It was like an update, which like a couple weeks after the story was published, a group of editors from this online magazine called Outside spent the night at Holy Ghost to investigate the claims of paranormal activity. The night passed perfectly peacefully, but the next morning, the associate managing editor, Alita Berchaisky, got up early to fish the nearby Holy Ghost Creek. About 10 minutes in, her hook got snagged on a root along the bank, and as she worked to free the hook, she saw the dark figure of a man in her peripheral vision approaching her. Quote, he was walking weirdly, kind of loping, end quote,
Ew.
Berchaisky says. Initially, she thought it was her husband coming over to tell her how cold he was, walking in a strange way in an attempt to warm up. But then when she turned to like greet him, nobody was there.
Oh, yikes.
That would give me the fucking rig.
Yes.
That would freak
Yes.
me out. Woo! Nope.
Wow.
No, thank you.
Prove that spokesperson wrong right
Yeah,
away.
exactly. Fuck right off, spokesperson.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is Lake Morena in California. So a lot of people have witnessed unexplained activity at this campsite, which is close to the Lake Morena and also the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, which is not far from the Mexican border. So this is down by like San Diego area. People hear heavy footsteps that are coming from nowhere. They've seen levitating bodies, and a few have reported seeing a figure in white on the shore of the lake. Two specific individuals separately have seen an old man in the distance staring at them. Like these creepy men being creepy. So a couple little details. So a couple that was staying the night there at the lake heard footsteps and saw the lintel on the door being lifted and set back down. Do you know what that is? Is that the little like window flap?
Let me Google
Even
it
though
because I don't know.
Lintel.
Lintel. It's good to know. Let's see. It is a horizontal support of timber, stone, concrete, or steel across the top of a door or window.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it would be
So,
that like kind of window piece, I guess.
yeah.
So yeah, they saw it being lifted and put back down, and then oh no, sorry, they weren't in a tent. They were like in a cabin kind of
Yeah.
situation because then they say the doorknob turned, but then when
Okay.
they like opened the door to see who was there was no one there.
Ooh, yikes.
Um, Other visitors have heard footsteps right around their beds in
Mm,
cabins while they're trying to sleep,
too
and then
close.
footsteps around their tents if they're sleeping on the ground. And instead of it sounding like someone walking towards you and walking away, it sounds like they're walking towards you and then they just stop. You never
Oh,
hear it walk away.
just
It's just like
standing
standing
there.
there watching you. So
Mhm.
fucking creepy, dude. Um, so there are a ton about this lake. So it's said to be the most remote reservoir in all of San Diego County. So it's been deemed like the most one of the most haunted campgrounds in the U.S. It's
Mm,
on every like top 10, top 5 list.
yeah.
Um, and there was this article back in October of 1983, not 1893. That would be really a long time,
Very
but
well. Yeah.
a long time, like early 80s,
Uh-huh.
written by Helen Schaefer, who wrote for the San Diego Union newspaper with More Than Fish Haunt Marina as the headline. And it included a bunch of like quotes from people who'd experienced weird stuff. And it was a little like tongue in cheek when she wrote it, but I mean, the people were clearly like freaked the fuck out.
Hmm.
Um, so Walter Stucker was one of them, one of the people she interviewed, and she said he's a park volunteer who enjoyed unlimited fishing privileges at the lake, staying in a trailer about 50 feet from the water. He said all went well until last fall. One night I awoke suddenly and looked out the open window by my bed in my motorhome. I found myself looking right at a tall man standing outside by the window. Schaefer described Stucker's horror as the man turned and walked toward the lake, taking very deliberate steps, yet seeming as if his feet weren't touching the ground.
Oh. Hmm. Float.
Yeah. Stucker said he had several more concerning encounters that season, similar to the man who, quote, walked on air. He finally walked himself to the ranger station, handed over his keys, and said he was leaving the lake. To his surprise, the ranger he spoke with didn't doubt the volunteer. So he told him what happened, and the
Oh.
ranger believed him. Far from it, he told Stucker he'd had some spooky encounters himself, including the sound of running footsteps at the ranger station, a jiggling doorknob, and a disappearing logbook, according to the article.
Hmm.
Other park employees and residents told the paper of even more disturbing sights, including tales of a baby's christening gown floating across their living room toward
Oh.
a guest house in the night.
That's spooky.
Yeah. The newspaper story from the 1980s helped Lake Marina gain its reputation as being haunted, but more recent visitors have also reported spooky happenings in the area. Um, the lake's campground is a really popular stopover on the PCT, so there was a lot of traffic through this area. And there was actually a 2021 like Reddit forum for people traveling on the Pacific Crest Trail, and there was like a ton of stuff on
Hmm.
Lake Marina and like how creepy it was, and people were kind of like avoid
Yeah.
it if you can. Um, yeah. Someone said, I heard some horrible sounds when I camped there the second night on the trail. It sounded like horrible screaming. I told myself it was
Hmm.
coyotes. So glad to know now it was probably ghosts. Uh, Another one says, there was one time me and a buddy rented a cabin to go fishing the next morning. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and felt something malevolently staring at me. Like I could feel the hatred. I just
Hmm.
clutched my pocket knife and waited till morning. When we got up, the door to the cabin was wide open.
Whoa.
I
Creepy.
don't.
No.
Um, So, park officials say that the lake is popular and safe. It's a good spot for fishing, boating, kayaking, hiking, etc. It's got characteristics of desert, coastal, and mountain habitats. So it's, really beautiful. It's like in the southwest of the Laguna Mountains. There are 8 miles of multi-use trails, playground, pavilion for kids. You can rent motorboats right there at the park. It's a beautiful place, but it's got this like really fucking creepy vibe.
Yeah. Wow. Wouldn't
So
vacation there if I had the
no,
choice.
no. And with that, I hand the mic to you, my friend.
Okay, great. So, yeah, I just have today one specific campsite and then also some Reddit stories. So it's like telling ghost stories around the campfire, you know?
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So, the specific site I'm going to talk about, it really gives me the creeps. So,
Ooh, ooh,
it
ooh.
is Braley Pond in Virginia. And to introduce it, I'm actually just going to read directly from a website, excuse me, that's called
Okay.
The Travel because they summarized it really well. So they wrote, upon walking up to the pond, visitors have reported feeling sudden dread and even nausea. During an interview with a paranormal researcher by The Dirt, Shay Willis and her team reported hearing violent splashing, which caused them to run back to their car. Before they got there, however, Willis reported feeling as though someone had latched onto her back and was crawling all over
No, no.
her. Despite
A
being able to
person?
leave,
Like a person latched on her back? That's insane.
she said something. I think I
Okay,
misread that.
okay.
So something,
Ooh.
but still
Okay,
crawling.
still not good.
Yeah. Despite being able to leave, the paranormal researcher claimed that nightmares plagued her for weeks, and she felt like something just wasn't right. Many others have reported hearing disembodied laughter, unexplainable activity, and apparitions.
Hmm.
So, in that snippet I just read, they mentioned an interview with Shay Willis, the one who had something
Hmm.
on her back. And I read that interview and it has so much more detail about her specific experience. So that's what I
Yeah.
want to share because it is so creepy. So to sum that up, Shay and her friend Chris, who that's the name was changed for privacy, they led a paranormal interest group for teenagers to
Oh,
teach them about spirituality and how to read energy. So it wasn't like ghost hunters.
cool.
It was,
That's
yeah,
still
more
so cool.
spiritual. I know. I would love to be part of that group.
Yeah, what?
Um,
Same.
so they decided to take their group to Braley Pond to see what they would feel there. And going into it, Shay had heard the haunted reputation of this site,
Hmm.
but she didn't know about this specific event that people attribute to be the reason for what goes on there. So, what it is that on May 23rd, 2003, there was a very gruesome gang murder that took place there.
Oh.
And I will spare the details, but the county sheriff described the scene as there was a lot of violence at this crime scene. So, I don't
I kind
know
of want
this.
the details. Is that morbid?
No, I can share it. It was just that this
Trigger
one
warning.
person, yeah, trigger warning. This person who I don't think he was in the gang, but I don't know, they must have had something going on. He was lured there by these people
Oh
who then
no.
stabbed him 13 times and
No.
left him like partially in the water, which is an
No.
important detail later. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it was just like he was lured there. That's so tragic, and then just
I'm
violently
just
murdered.
yeah, so
Yeah,
scary. Like you hear about that, right? That like initiations and things like
yeah,
that, like have to like you have to murder someone. Like,
right.
fuck,
Yikes.
dude. It's like
Yeah,
so heavy.
I know.
Relax.
Yeah, so you can just imagine like that having taken place there. It's another instance of bad
Right.
energy lingering.
Very bad
So
energy. Oof.
yeah. So I don't know. She didn't say this, but I feel like if they had known, they probably wouldn't take these kids there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. she said that she tries not to know full details of a place that has a haunted reputation before
Mm,
going into it so she can see what she actually is picking up rather than
mm,
going in with preconceived notions
yeah.
about a place. So she was in the dark about it. Um,
Mm,
so then their group arrived at Braley Pond at 4:30 p.m. It was November, and they began their walk toward the pond. And Shay recalled in this interview that she was experiencing, like, instantly a really strong sense of what happened there. Um,
mm,
she said it was so heavy as to be almost palatable, and I knew immediately that this feeling was not my own. I was feeling something that belonged to someone else. So
mm.
by the time the group arrived to this dam that's near the pond where they were walking to, two of the teenagers in the group became physically sick, like violently physically sick.
Mm.
So Shay was attempting to calm everybody down, but then she became nauseous herself. And she said that at this point, for the first time, she felt frightened of the paranormal. So
Oh,
it takes a lot to rattle her.
yeah,
Um,
jeez.
yeah. And after that, I don't blame them. The majority of the group decided to leave rather
Yeah,
than
they're like,
staying.
we're out.
Yeah, see you later. Except Shay and Chris, the leaders of the group, they decided to go back to the dam area.
Hmm.
The dam area.
Damn
um,
area.
that dam area. But again, when they got there, Shay started experiencing really strong energies. And as they were walking along the top of the dam, they heard something moving through the water, larger
No,
than a fish. um,
no.
so they turned to follow the motion, but then saw up in a tree about 40 feet off the ground this really large, bright green orb of light. And Shay was actually able to get a picture of it just before it disappeared. So I'll send that to you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Yeah.
You can't see anything except this orb because it was dark, but still,
Right.
when you know the context, it's very
Yeah.
strange. Um, so at that point, after she took the picture, the motion in the water became violent splashing. And Shay described it as there was no mistaking it. It sounded like there was a person in the water flailing and kicking. It was loud
Oh.
enough to have been the size of a full grown person.
Oh
And
God.
that's where the murder
Reliving his
becomes.
death?
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
God, that is so horrid.
yeah, scary, sad, all of the above. So,
I don't like that one bit.
no. Finally, Shay and Chris make a run for it because they're like, no, this is enough. And just like in a nightmare, Chris falls into the water. And
No.
yeah, can you
No.
imagine? I would just
No.
like die right
I
there
would
if
die.
I fell into
I
the
would
water.
absolutely drop dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shay is trying to help him out, and that's when she feels something jump onto her back. And she described it as feeling like, quote, psychic jelly, which I
What
don't
does that mean?
think, I don't know, that's hard to relate to. Like, I just think of ectoplasm or something.
Yeah, same.
Um, but she said that it felt like it was moving along her back using some sort of tentacles. So
Ew,
then I
dude.
start picturing like jellyfish or something like that.
I don't like
Um,
that at all.
but there's nothing like that in this lake in Virginia. So, yeah. As they were running back to the car, she was still having this sensation of something being on her back, like a weight, something moving around. And she was so
Okay.
sure that there was something there. So she had Chris like very closely examine her back. He didn't find anything. So this feeling of having this presence on her stuck with her for months. Um, and she continued to feel compelled to go back to Braley Pond for whatever reason. And she kept having weird experiences when she went there. The one that stood out to me was that she got there and kind of lost time, like you were talking about with
Oh,
the
yeah.
stairs. And when
Yeah.
she came to, she was in one of the park bathrooms, just like staring into the toilet. um, so
No.
that, and
Oh,
if you can
that's
picture
fucking
those
creepy.
toilets in like
Yes.
natural areas that are just a big hole in the ground,
Yeah.
so creepy. Um, but the
Oh,
culmination,
dude.
I
Oh
know,
God, there's more?
there's more.
Jesus.
The culmination of everything was one night she was at home and her 8-year-old son woke up screaming in the night because he saw a man standing in the corner of his room, dripping wet with holes in his chest
Oh my God. Oh
and
my God. Oh
covered
my
in
God. Oh my God.
blood.
Oh my God. I
Yeah,
just got full body. I'm
same.
literally covered in goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Me too. And that is so scary. So something was attached to her. Thankfully,
Oh.
since then, it's stopped. And she's been
Wait, but
back there and not had anything.
was her son on that trip?
They
Was he
didn't
there?
say, so I don't know. But yeah, I doubt it
I
since I
don't
think the
love
group was
that.
for teenagers. But that was so scary. Like,
Yeah, I
don't
hate
go
that.
there.
Oh, seeing a man dripping wet. No, no, no,
Ew.
no,
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 with
no.
holes in his chest. Like, ugh.
Mm-mm. No, I'm good.
Yeah. So that's Braley Pond. I wouldn't recommend visiting, but you do whatever you want. Um, so now I have all these Reddit stories that are still scary.
Yeah.
So we're just scary from start to end today. So um, this is from Reddit. His username is Jaegerfly. So they write, one of my college professors told us his story. He was camping in the Cordillera Mountains and had his own tent. He woke up in the middle of the night to find a woman with unkempt hair and torn and bloody clothing crawling on all fours towards him.
I can't.
He
I can't with that.
he screamed and woke up. It was a dream. When his
Oh,
friends
bless.
rushed, yeah, when his friends rushed to his tent to see what was the matter, he told them about his dream, and a few of them became visibly uncomfortable, all the color draining from their faces.
Oh, no, no, no. They all have the same dream. No, no, no. Don't like it. Don't like
They
it.
they insisted that they leave camp as soon as the sun came up. It was only after they had left the mountains that his friends told him that several of them had shared similar dreams, except in their dreams they saw a woman crawling into the professor's tent. Everyone saw her going there. Ugh, more
Oh my God. Oh my
goosebumps.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so much worse. I thought they were all just gonna have the
Yeah,
same exact dream. That I didn't think it'd get worse, and
it did.
it got
I
way
know.
worse. It got
I don't
so much
know.
fucking worse.
I don't know
That's gonna
why,
haunt
but yeah, it is way worse. Because
because then it's like it wanted him
him
to know
specifically.
for sure that he's after him.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
like I'm after
yikes.
all y'all. I'm after
Yeah,
you, and I want
you.
you all to confirm it to him.
Oh God. It was so scary.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yikes.
God damn it.
Whew, okay, moving on.
Blech.
Another one. Also from
Next, on to the
Reddit.
next. Wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. I think that might be the worst one, but we'll see.
That's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
That's really,
Yeah.
really bad. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not here for that.
No, it's a bit much. So,
Sorry. Just having such a visceral reaction.
yeah, that's a lot to take in.
Ooh, way too
Because, yeah,
much.
there are so many stories, well, not so many, but I've read stories about people who have the same dream where it's coming to them, but not going like directed at one person. So that is different. Okay. So also from Reddit, their username is J4Viator. So I think probably JVator. This says, went camping with my boyfriend when I was 19. We weren't in a designated camping site, just out in the wilderness of northern Scotland. I was just chilling in the tent using a torch to read my book when all of a sudden the roof just starts, excuse me, bowing inwards. It came down 2 to 3 feet to the point where I had to lie down so it didn't touch me. I'm sure I saw 10 points pressing in right above my face like someone was pushing it down with their hands. So,
Dude,
inexplicable. Unless her boyfriend was playing a trick on her, but
that would be mean. That would be really
Yeah.
fucking mean. And then to not reveal it later, like, sure,
Yeah.
kind of like, haha, in the moment, but like,
Yeah.
then you say, like, just kidding, it was me.
Yeah. To let her continue to believe that is not very nice.
Yeah.
No. So then let's see. This is from C.C. Kaufman. This happened to me when I was little. I went camping with my older brother and my mom. I was about 7 or 8, and I went to bed around 10 in a sleeping bag inside my tent with both my mom and brother. Sometime during the night, I don't know when, I woke up somewhere in the middle of the woods, still in my sleeping bag. I had no idea where I was or where my tent was. I screamed for my mom, and I heard her calling back for me in panic, but she was easily 100 yards away or so. To this day, I have no idea how I ended up in the middle of the woods, still inside my sleeping bag.
Dude.
It's,
yeah. I'm having issues with this.
Putting me off camping for a while, except I'm going camping soon, so that'll be great. But, let's see. This one is weird. This could not be paranormal, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So this is from Annihilating Tomato from Reddit again.
Oh my God.
This is, I was in a cabin with 4 other people. I woke up at about 5 a.m. and they were all sleep talking to each other. Like straight up grunting, mumbling, shaking, and everything else a person mid-sleep would do. Only the 4 of them were actively engaging in some kind of primitive sleep talk all at once and towards each other. In the morning, I told them what happened, and they didn't remember a single thing. So,
what?
That could just be like, I don't know, they're all prone to sleep talking, or who knows, but that's still odd to me.
I can't with this.
Yeah, I'm a sleep talker, and I don't think I could really engage in conversation with people, but who knows. And then the last one I have is from Love, Love, Hate, Hate, also Reddit.
Same.
And yeah, exactly. This is a nicer one, so it's a good way to end. This story was told to me by my professor, who I very much trust. While he was camping and hunting in Montana, he had a strange vision. He was sitting on a hill looking for a deer to shoot, and out of the forest walks his elderly mother. He is taken aback because his mother lives in Slovakia and has never left her country. His mother says she loves him and walks away. At this point, my professor is freaking out. He packs up his stuff and goes back into town. He calls his mother, and she answers and laughs at his story. He still feels unsettled, so he gets a flight and flies back to see her. He spends a few lovely days with her, then the morning before he's about to go home, he wakes up to find his mother passed away in her sleep.
Whoa.
So, kind of like a glitch in the Matrix type story.
Yeah. Whoa.
But, yeah. So, that was all. People have some great stories for this topic.
I'm over here, like, scarred by yours.
Sorry.
The drippy man and the woman crawling into the gut.
Yeah, no.
If I didn't like camping before, it's all no.
It's
never.
Over now.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah. Our relationship is done.
It's done. Camping,
Yeah.
we're through. We had one quick romp and we're through.
Like any good relationship.
Like any good relationship, exactly.
Yeah.
Just one little boink and hit the road.
Exactly.
Oh, shit. Well, I hope you guys don't have any camping plans this summer.
Yep.
And if you do, hope this doesn't haunt
Let us
you.
know. Yep.
Let us fucking know. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully the audio was much better this week. Super happy to be back in the swing of things. Next week's theme we will announce when we do it, but
Yep.
we're keeping to the summer theme for the next few episodes. So like we said last week, if you have any ideas for other themes, if you have any spooky stories, send them our way to girlsgonespooky@gmail.com and or DM us at Girls Gone Spooky on Facebook or Instagram. And we usually will post like fun photos from that are relevant to the episode. So yeah, stay spooky, friends. See you next week.
Stay spooky. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.